Hi, I'm Noah Buchanan. I'm an artist and a professor of art in Santa Cruz, California.
2 years ago, I met Noah at the opening for a show he was in at the Stanek Gallery in Philadelphia. I was immediately drawn to the humanism and brilliant technique of his figure paintings. Noah recently completed a very large multi-figured masterwork in his Santa Cruz studio, and I invited him to tell me about it.
My painting Symphony is a celebration of the incredible paradoxes and diversities that we find in the stories of our lives, both individually and as a society. The symphony is a symphony of life, and the players all contribute in different ways. The cast of performers come together from varying places, points of view, experiences, and emotional states. I've tried to build the painting out of different sets of polar opposites. These are all characters that we ourselves have played or known at different times in our lives. Here are some of the pairs of characters and the qualities they embody in my mind. The first and most salient, the idea of victory and failure. At the top of the painting is this glorious opera singer, her arms flung wide, representing the radiance of success. She's hitting the high note of the painting. She knows she's the crown of the picture. And in contrast, at the bottom right of the canvas is a dejected individual. His lute is broken, so he doesn't get to play in the symphony. It's a self-portrait. The pose is an open nod to Raphael's School of Athens, in which he paints Heraclitus in the brooding thinker pose, but with the likeness of Michelangelo. And there are characters that I refer to as the divine and the damned. They echo the victory and failure figures. At the very top of the painting is the Greco-Roman god Apollo, a patron of the musical arts, holding his heroic lyre. And he's accompanied by an angel blowing a horn in triumph. While at the very bottom of the canvas is a hurdy-gurdy player who's shackled and illuminated by a cold light from below. And for me, he conjures up the Dickens character Jacob Marley, the bitter ghost tormented by guilt for a life of greed and selfishness. Visually, this character is a nod to a favorite painting of mine by Georges Delatour, his hurdy-gurdy player. I also represent the stages of human life, from birth through death, and relate these to the four seasons. There's the baby holding a rattle as her musical instrument. She's personifying birth and the season of spring. The baby's mother, a brightly colored dress, singing out her song with strength and vigor. She's young adulthood, the summer season of human life. The silver-haired flautist, still vital but aged, represents the autumn of our lives. She's older, but she's still very much contributing to the symphony. Death and the season of winter is personified by the guitarrón player. And to enhance this idea, I've given him a Mexican Day of the Dead face painting, Dia de los Muertos. I also express contrasting attitudes about devotion and belligerence. And devotion is seen here in the hardworking and focused string players. They set about the musical work for its own sake, not for personal glory. They're all around the painting. I portray them in the shadows and muted in color. And belligerence is the drunkard trying to steal or perhaps ruin the show. He's singing loudly and off-key. He's one of the focal points of the composition, painted in high key lighting and color, making him stand out. He reminds us that attention gained is not always attention justly earned. There are two characters representing the dichotomies of brilliance and idiocy, or expertise and incompetence. The composer, in the act of writing and conducting the music for the symphony, represents intellect and mental acuity. His skills are hard-earned. He's counterbalanced by the foolish jester who has made himself believe that banging a skillet with a hammer is a brilliant contribution to the symphony. And both of these, the fool and the composer, are self-portraits. And like everybody, I've played both of these roles at different points in my life. A key to this painting is the dreaming woman. Maybe the viewer will come to decide that this whole thing is her dream. I love dreams because when we dream, we detach from reality and surrender to a strange existence made up of our memories, hopes, fears, curiosities, pain, love. Carl Jung would say that every character in a dream represents some aspect of the dreamer, even if it feels like the opposite of who the dreamer believes themselves to be. And I hope that viewers of Symphony can see that each figure may represent a puzzle piece of their own psychological makeup. In graduate school, I moved to New York, and I was amazed at the wild diversity of human life encountered all over the city, most poignantly in the subway system. Everybody jammed together, hurtling through the darkness, and these people ran the entire range of ways of being: homeless, wealthy, beautiful, awkward, angry, kind, drunk, studious, annoyed, amused. And I wanted Symphony to have this feeling that while some of us are playing our part in life through victory and success, others are doing so in pain and suffering. Still others are just laughing at it all. And many simply have their heads down trying to do the work. But we're all in the symphony together, contributing to the full expression of human existence. Symphony is my hope that we can achieve a true and deep empathy and compassion for each other. And I hope that we can genuinely see ourselves in others and others in ourselves.
Symphony is a remarkable achievement, and Noah has explained it very well. But I had a few more questions, so I gave him a call. Hey Noah, how long did the whole process of Symphony take from idea to completion?
2 years is the number I'm saying, even though some of the conceptual sketches began way back in 2002.
How many people are in Symphony?
It is 27 figures.
There are two more characters whose stories I'd like to hear. Who is the smiling young girl?
Well, in real life, it's my stepdaughter, Eva. She's playing the role of the mirth of childhood, also mischief and delight. To me, that's the best part of childhood, that spirit of fun as being the top priority. That's what Eva is embodying.
Who's the guy trying to quiet down the drunk?
He's representing those of us who are trying to play by the rules, maybe too much to the detriment of themselves. I mean, he could be playing his violin with the three women above him, but he's so caught up in shushing the belligerent drinker. I see that as a criticism, but also in admiration to speak up and say, we've heard enough out of you and you're ruining it for the rest of us.
You once told me about some artist who really inspired you to start doing big, multi-figure paintings.
Valentin de Bouillon, French Baroque period painter, active in Rome. His career cranked up right after Caravaggio died because there was sort of a vacuum created with Caravaggio's death. And I saw a whole retrospective show of his life's work. astounding, huge canvas after canvas, multi-figure compositions. And it just hit me like a freight train. I thought, this is what I always dreamed of doing, but also made me feel this anxiety to get going and catch up with where I felt like I should have been already.
Why did you make Symphony a vertical as opposed to horizontal design?
A vertical composition has this natural feeling of crescendo. It takes you up. The messages and the feelings in the painting work with this top and bottom paradox. Up being good, down being bad, or up being exciting and down being subdued. That was one of the reasons for the vertical format.
How do you make your figures look believable?
There's three major areas that an artist should be equipped to work from, and it goes along chronologically with an artist's life too. The first is working from invention. That's the principal way that I worked as a child growing up, was inventing drawings. But it's also the way that I work now when I'm starting to conceive of a project. I do a lot of drawing just from imagination, trying to conceive of what the concepts are and feelings are in the piece, but also what the composition would be, what individual poses would be like. Then I bring in empirical information, and I'll bring the model into the studio to try to match the poses that I've invented and see what's possible. Can they match the poses exactly or close? Or very often the model will end up doing something better because nature is profoundly more rich than anything we can invent. I will make sketches and drawings of models and poses. At the same time, I make a lot of photographic references of the models too. I often find that where I'm actually starting to paint, I usually put the photographs away and I work only from the drawings that I've made. And in the end, you look at the painting and you think, regardless of what I've seen on the model or in the photographs or in the drawings, regardless of any of that, I need to do what's best for the painting.
By the time this movie is online, we will have, hopefully, a new president. To me, there are all sorts of political echoes in Symphony. Am I reading too much into this?
It's intended, but I'm always careful not to pin my paintings to a specific time for fear of the artwork being written off as of a certain political moment. I'm always wary of political artwork for that reason. But I will say that earlier iterations of some of the figures were more deliberately pinned to this time. Like the idiot figure, I played with ideas of that dunce cap being red, having some white letters also written across it. I played with it just being a red ball cap with white letters splayed across the front of it. But I thought, I don't want to pin this to a finite moment in time. The bigger idea to me is a more universal, timeless message. I want artworks to deal with human experience across time.
One painting on your website made me think that perhaps your moral development derives from an unusual source.
Obi-Wan Kenobi and probably Yoda too. I'm a Star Wars addict. It's true. I was born in '76. I'm of a certain generation where it really hit us at this powerful moment. Yeah, it affected my thinking a lot. At a later age, looking at what Joseph Campbell had to say about it, that really resonated. The idea of nobility and heroism and a spiritual path.
Well, may the artistic force be with you, Noah. You're a wonderful painter.
Oh, geez, thanks.